Hi, this is John Barnes, and you're listening to Kop On.
Over the last few years, there have been two major finals that have stood out for Liverpool fans, iconic finals. The first one being 2019 in Madrid when Liverpool took home number 6, a performance full of courage and belief. And yesterday, as we're recording this, the 2024 Carabao Cup final, absolutely unforgettable, iconic, and indicative of the great belief that a manager can instill in the Liverpool players that they are, whatever happens, they're going to win this match. So it's in great testament to the effect that a manager can have. I just want to start by thanking Mauricio Pochettino. Nigel, well done. Are you cock-a-hoop or happy as Larry, or any other boomps a daisy, or any other expression that you care to think of? Did you sleep okay last night?
I was happy as Jurgen, and I was up later than I normally would be, so I was watching some content. Little bits of the matches with commentary by fans and reactions of other fans. And I have to say, the reactions of other fans, apart from our own, was that one, the first goal shouldn't have been disallowed. Virgil's first header shouldn't have been disallowed. And two, Chelsea bottled it. Pochettino said afterwards, I think, that they were playing for penalties in extra time. Well, I'm sorry, but that's just a horrible defeatist attitude. And our lads went out there with a good, positive attitude. Young lads, very, very young lads. Jayden Dan's second game for the club, mirroring that of Ian Rush in 1982, I think. Yeah, 1982.
81.
81, was it? Against Spurs. No, 82.
Okay.
82.
I read it 81, but I might be wrong. Carry on with the stat.
I thought it was 82 against... No, it would have been 81. It would have been 81 against West Ham. Replay against West Ham. And he played. It was his second game for the club in the replay at Villa Park, I think it was, and we won that game. But I thought I was very impressed with all our kids. I'm very impressed with all our team, all our squad, and the kids were sensationally good, all of them. It was a pleasure to watch.
It was a pleasure, and so many things. And I've asked you, Nigel, before we got started, to write your top 5 things that made you happy, basically, about that match. I've got my own top 5, but no, it's a great stat to begin with. Jayden Dan's. In fact, Gary Richards is in the chat. Tally ho, Gary, lovely to have you with us as always. He says that those young Reds made me proud last night. Jayden Dan's is the next superstar striker, and if it's anything related to Ian Rush, then that would be rather splendid. And Alan is in the chat as well. He says, as VVD said, Queeve Kelleher should have got this man of the match trophy, but I'll take it. That's what Alan says. And I totally agree. Kelleher, man of the match. Some great stats before we get into our top 5 moments from the match. There are so many of them. But Queeve Kelleher, there's from, many of you may have heard it, from the excellent Walk On podcast. They have a statistician there, and I'm terribly sorry, I can't remember his name. It's Mark something, but he talked about Kelleher playing obviously 2 finals against Chelsea. It was his second final. He's faced in total 13 shots on target in those 2 games that both went to extra time. He hasn't conceded a single goal, and the XG against him was 3.9 in those 2 matches. So in other words, he should have conceded 4 goals in those 2 games, but yet he conceded none. And Andrew Beasley on Queeve Kelleher's performance, he said that just yesterday it was 2.9 XG for Chelsea, and to concede no goals, Queeve Kelleher, I think he became something like the 4th goalkeeper to have a clean sheet with 2.9 XG, the 4th goalkeeper in the last something like 5 years in Europe's top 5 leagues, in any match. And it's absolutely extraordinary. So, I'm sure Queeve is one of your top 5, but let's go into our top 5 memories. But just before we do that, sorry, Gary Richards is saying, do you think that there was beer drinking out of the cup. They're barely old enough, Gary. I don't think so. It was probably Ribena, because James Milner would have
They
helped.
had to put the sippy cup lid on on the cup last
They
night.
had to put a sippy cup lid on it. Yeah, good. Excellent stuff. So yeah, the top 5 things. Let's go in reverse order of what you wrote down. So from 5 to 1, the top 5 happy things from yesterday, Nigel. What's your number 5?
Number 5, Owen, is belief and faith in every member of the squad. Like, he put our young kids on there yesterday, and we just, he had so much faith in them. You could see it, faith and pride in them, and they all did a marvelous job. Like, just to see our more experienced players and our injured players in the stands as well, like cheering them on, and it was marvelous stuff. Jurgen said after the game, we have the world's number 1 goalkeeper and we have the world's number 2 goalkeeper. Yeah. So Cleveland Kelleher number 1 and Allison number 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great. No, that's very good. The belief, I loved that, and I love that. That Klopp said those things. He also said it was. I'm paraphrasing, but it was by far the most special cup triumph he's ever had, and that comes down to belief. And despite my sort of half stolen joke at the beginning of the episode, thank you to my friend David for giving me that. Talking about the actual belief yesterday, it was palpable. And I think, Bobby Clark epitomized that. I think McConnell epitomized that. And it was those two who combined. And already, I mean, I've hardly slept. I've been up since 5 o'clock, listening to, devouring all kinds of content about this match. And nobody's really mentioned the fact that it was McConnell who passed to Bobby Clark, who was in such a tight space, but still managed to get a shot off that was deflected for the winning corner. It was those two combining. And McConnell, when he came on, people judge him by first impressions, and he looked a bit nervous when he first came on. He's like, oh my God, it's a cup final. But then he soon settled into a rhythm, and the belief was in him. And he had such belief to play, to find the pockets of space, and to keep Chelsea pushed back. And Pochettino, who was, he should hang his head in shame. His tactics were awful. But part of the reason why his players were were staying back was because they were forced back, and players like McConnell forced them back, Nigel. And it's that belief that was in such, the young kids is freaking amazing. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. But how much of that, Nigel, comes from the manager? Because this is the thing that does, nag away at the back of my mind, is like, will any manager in world football be able to give as much belief to any group as Klopp can? Because I'm not sure. I think anyone we get is a step down in terms of that.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that. But that'll also be up to the players, to our leaders in the team, to be able to make sure to just say to the manager, hang on now a second, we need to keep that little bit to keep our younger players driving on. I saw a stat somewhere yesterday, I can't remember where it was. After a certain point in the game, James McConnell had more touches than anybody else. I think there was 47 touches. I saw a stat somewhere. He was excellent. Bobby Clark was excellent. Neither player shy about putting a foot in, and just like, that's what you want. You want players who can put the foot in, who can like, good touch, can look up, can play a pass. Like, they've got everything about them to be a Liverpool player. They're both 19 years old. It's incredible. It
is incredible. And they're obviously working on intelligence and calmness and the mental side of the game in training in the academy. They must be, because these kids coming through, they've all got such intelligence, game intelligence, and epitomized by the yellow card that McConnell took for pulling back Cole Palmer as he broke through. So fabulous, absolutely fabulous. So many happy things to talk about. Excuse me. I want to talk to you about my number 5, which was Wataru Endo, who could have been number 1, but all of it, my 5-1 happy moments are all interchangeable, I suppose. But Wataru Endo was absolutely freaking magnificent. And I don't know if you've seen, like, lots of people have been sharing these photos of him in a boot, leaving the ground in a boot. There was somebody on Twitter, I'm sorry, I can't, I don't know who it was, but he said that this is something called an air fit boot or an air something boot, and it's more as protection against contact injuries as opposed to anything to be particularly worried about. But fingers crossed there's nothing serious there, because Wataru Endo, 91.2% passing accuracy, Nigel, 91.2% in a final where he's played 120 minutes. He's like the oldest player by far. He could be everyone's granddad in our team. And if you compare that to like Enzo Fernandez, for example, 76.7% passing accuracy from Enzo Fernandez. Enzo, who had one shot, which was a really awfully executed back heel. And Wataru Endo had 2 shots from a number 6 position, and in so many metrics, he just trumps every both of the number 6s. Caicedo as well, who should have been sent off, but Wataru Endo had 6 tackles, which was the most in our team, equal with Alexis McAllister. 3 clearances, 1 blocked shot. He drew 2 fouls from the opposition, and he's just so smart positionally, and the things that don't show up in statistics. I mean, in commentary, I think Stephen Warnock said that he had the heart of a lion, but I think it's more a lioness, because if you actually look at the behavior of lions, it's the lionesses who go out and do all the hunting and do all the hard work, and the males just sort of sit on their butts and watch everything go, and then go and eat what they want from the carcass. A little bit like I don't know, Garth Crooks in punditry. So yes, heart of a lioness, let's say, for Wata. It was freaking beautiful. Have you got anything to say about Endo?
Yeah, it kind of ties in with my number 4.
Excellent.
As well. My number 4, I have written down is written off to writing headlines.
Beautiful.
So it's guys. It's not only Wataru Endo in that context. I'm talking about Virgil van Dijk. Oh, he's no good anymore. He's past it. We're going to have to get rid of him. Well, you can see Virgil saying it last night at one stage. He said they thought I was finished. Endo, they're walking around looking like he was being kneecapped or something. I don't know what it was. Well, I do know what it was, actually, I think. He's walking around with Caicedo in his pocket.
Very good.
So, yeah, he was outstanding. Outstanding. I was on a pod last night, and the lads
was that the Kop Council with Connor?
Yes, Connor.
Check that out, everybody. The Kop Council on YouTube, absolutely fabulous. Yeah, I tuned in as much as I could. I'm looking after the baby.
Very good. I said last night on that the lads were picking the man of the match, and I said Endo, because I thought he was absolutely magnificent. He is kind of like, I suppose it's like Virgil as well, but he's like the center cog of a machine, and everything revolves around him. He just stays in the middle and turns, twists, and controls everything. He's the man that our backbone is built on, and everything comes from him. He's the fulcrum of our team.
There is a reason why the number 6 position in Brazilian Portuguese and Brazilian football parlance, the number 6 position is called the steering wheel, and Fabinho did it beautifully, and now Wataru is doing it beautifully, and Alexis McAllister does it beautifully. Jurgen Klopp in his post-match press conference, he said, "A good development, huh?" When talking about Wataru Endo. Yeah, I said it a couple of times that we were lucky. We bring him in, and obviously Wataru, I'm pretty sure in 3 or 4 years, Wataru will sign another long-term contract at Liverpool, just because he might be 30 or 31 on his passport, but he's not. He's a machine. He is, footballing-wise, exceptional. His defensive brain is outstanding. He gives us a lot of freedom for a lot of things. Yeah, top development. Very helpful. Very helpful. Klopp loves him. I've got the tattoo booked in. It's going to be Wata forever. Absolutely wonderful stuff. And what you were saying before about confounding expectations. It's absolutely brilliant. Virgil van Dijk.
Queeving Kelleher as well.
Oh,
written
man.
off. Joe
I want to
Gomez.
talk
Written
about
off.
Kelleher, but he's sort of my number one
Yeah.
in that. But to talk about various moments.
All the players that were written off. Darwin Núñez mightn't have been playing yesterday, but
Virgil van Dijk,
absolutely,
after his injury, coming back, not finding his form. Virgil's lost the plot. That's what they were saying.
Yeah.
That header, by the way. Oh man, because that brings me on to my number 4, which is Virgil. Okay. Actually, no, my number 1 is different. It's not Kelleher. So good. We'll keep the suspense going. It's not. But Virgil was absolutely impeccable last night. He was brilliant. And tell me about that goal. Like, if you compare the disallowed goal, I'm going to be controversial and I'm going to say that it should have been disallowed. I think it was a good decision. I think it was the correct decision by VAR because, and I understand people who will disagree with me and who think the goal should have stood, but I think it's the correct decision because Endo is standing in an offside position and he's blocking the defender. And it's basically 2 foul. It's not really a foul, but it's being in an offside position and affecting the play is an offside. And if it had been the other way around, and Chelsea had scored a goal with an offside player blocking one of our defenders, I would have been livid. So I think it was a good decision. But if you compare that moment to our goal. And if you watch it back, I'm sure you've watched it 1,000 times, but our winning goal from Virgil, look at Cole Palmer, because Virgil gets a run on whoever's marking him. I think it's Dizazi, but I'm not sure. And Cole Palmer could have, because he wasn't marking anyone, there was no one around him, he could have taken just a step back and he would have blocked Virgil's path. And he didn't. And that's just a way that, talking about confounding expectations, Liverpool are just smarter than Chelsea. Klopp is smarter than Pochettino. Our players are smarter than Cole Palmer, and they're better drilled as a result. And the analysis is better. And this is how, with analysis, you can really, really win a lot. And it was absolutely terrific. But Virgil himself, I mean, just a couple of stats for you from his match yesterday. I'll just bring them up here. Where is he? Big Verge. Who scored gave him man of the match. Okay, fair enough. 3 tackles, 2 interceptions, 7 clearances, 2 blocked shots. Of course, the winning goal. Offensively speaking, that was his 1 legal shot that was on target, or header. He also had 2 key passes, which is not bad for a centre back. And he got a 91.1% passing accuracy and 4 aerials won. 120 touches in the match. He was the player with the most amount of touches in our team, actually, which is a little bit unusual. But Virgil was freaking magnificent. He's 32, Nigel, a year and a half left on his deal. But I want him to sign, speaking of machines who are way beyond their years, I mean, I want him to sign another long-term contract. Talk to me about Virgil.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt he'll sign. I have absolutely no doubt whatsoever he'll sign another, at least a 3-year contract. I think, like, he's improving again. Just to give you a comparison goal to the header yesterday, another very important goal in our title winning season. Sadio Mane versus Aston Villa. Ball was coming like that as well. It was coming across. It was an outswinger, and Mane cut across and got a kick in the face for it at the same time, but kind of headed it at that kind of same angle and in off the post. If you remember, if it was that kind of angle on as well. That's what hit me immediately when it went in. I said, that's like Sadio Mane's goal.
Absolutely right. Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, unforgettable. What a moment.
Really was. Yeah.
What a moment when he got the boot in the face for his travels as well. Absolutely wonderful.
He was brilliant yesterday. I actually have to say about Konate then as well. Konate went running back there at one stage and made a wonderful, wonderful tackle.
Was it on Nick Jackson? I couldn't remember who it was against. It was against Jackson. Wonderful.
Yeah, a brilliant tackle. It just, Virgil's pace mightn't be there as much as it was, but his reading of the game is there and his ability to help players through. But like, that's why we have a team. That's why Virgil mightn't be able to make these passes, but Ibu can, or to make these challenges and stuff like that. But Ibu can. So I mean, that's what we're there for.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's building the blend, giving them the belief, giving them the courage to be themselves and to be their glorious, glorious selves. I mean, Jamie Carragher said that Virgil van Dijk is hands down the best central defender the Premier League's ever seen. Yes, I would agree with that. I would agree that he's. I would put him in the conversation with the best defender ever. Someone I remember Baresi, I remember Maldini, the great Italians. Even Fabio Cannavaro, you might put him in there. Wonderful French defenders we've seen, amazing Brazilian defenders. I put Virgil up there with them, but of course that's going to be subjective. But the guy I was going to mention was Alan Hansen, and you could say that Virgil is Alan Hansen's replacement. It took us 27 years to find him, but it's that kind of once in a generation defender. Hopefully,
Alan Hansen retired in 1990, so yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And so that's the thing. We just got to enjoy him, because it's not as if when Virgil retires. I mean, Konate, I absolutely adore, and he was freaking amazing again. Absolutely tremendous, on fire yesterday. But it's just like Virgil's unique. I mean, unique in a generation, just like Alan Hansen was. And I just think we just got to enjoy these players. Don't expect us to replace Virgil, because he's irreplaceable and impeccable when he's on form like yesterday. So that was his third man of the match, official man of the match in a final, after the 2019 Champions League final and the last League Cup final, I believe, win, which was also against Chelsea.
Three clean sheets.
Pardon?
3 clean sheets.
Three clean sheets. Yes, absolutely. Before we get to your number 3, Nigel, let's just go through some of the comments. Dave's LFC chats. Dave is here. Excellent. He says, "Let's go." And we were more streetwise than Chelsea. Yes, we were, Dave. Yes, we were, despite the lack of experience. And because lots of people are mentioning the lack of experience, as in not just the age of the players, but the actual match experience of the players on show. And I'll get onto that a bit later. I've got a great stat, an original, Kop On original stat that I just worked out on the bus, and it took me about half an hour because I'm not very good at maths. But I checked it, and it's correct. So I'll get onto that in a bit. But lovely to have you with us, Dave. And also in the chat, Douglas is here from the Dugout Football Channel. 10 times winners, baby, he says, and he puts 10 cup emojis. Yeah, 10 times EFL Cup winners. Yes, you can poo-poo it. You can say the EFL Cup is just, the Mickey Mouse Cup. Of course, it's the 4th most important trophy in every season, but it's a trophy, and it's a major trophy, and everyone else would love to win it.
It wasn't the Mickey Mouse Cup when the other fella lifted it last season for United, was it?
Well, exactly. If your team wins it, then it's a beautiful thing to win. Very good. And so great. Thanks very much. And also, Doug says, thank goodness we signed Konate instead of Upa Disaster Meccano. Well, yes. Ibu is I like Upamecano, to be honest, but Tuchel not getting the best out of him is not really a surprise, to be honest. I mean, he can be a bit dodgy, but he's got great talent, Upamecano. But anyway, your number 3, Nigel. Where are we? Your number 3. What's that?
My number 3 was Ryan Babel is right, or was right.
What did he say?
Do you remember he posted the picture of Howard Webb in a Man United shirt after a game a few years ago? Well, the standard of refereeing a few years ago wasn't great. Then Howard Webb took over. He was saying, "Hold my beer." And he's just been, the whole regime has just gone down the tubes gradually. It's like a swirl now. It's where it's going, a dirty swirl in the toilet. About how it's just an absolute a travesty. We've got another player limping around on crutches there yesterday, and we don't even get a free kick for it. Okay. First of all, let me just say, Kavanagh, I've defended him in the past because until yesterday, he was, in my opinion, the best referee in the league. He ruined it yesterday by being utterly shit. But that particular instance is very easy to miss
in real time. The person I blame for that, considering that Gravenberch was down for a long time, had to be stretchered off, person I blame for that is John Brooks on VAR, because that is disgraceful. How you can see that studs up challenge, and what he did, he decided in his puny little tiny little mind, with his one little neuron that's bouncing around looking for a friend, he decided that it was careless and not dangerous play. That is...
Does that all come from the time Klopp got in his face earlier on in the season? Do you remember that?
Exactly. These refs, they don't just have chips on their shoulders. They've got the burger and a collection of sauces. They are absolutely disgraceful. And that thing, like, already we've seen a number of red cards given for a lot less than that this season. But regardless of what's gone before, if you just look at the rules are, if it's dangerous play, it's a red card. And if you break someone's, pretty much break their ankles, definitely could be serious ligament damage. We don't know yet. We haven't heard yet as we're recording this. But the definition of a studs up challenge causing, a significant injury to a player who has to then be stretchered off is the definition of freaking dangerous. Like, what don't you understand about the own rules that you are supposed to be enforcing? And this is the point about refereeing. I know, Nigel, you think that there's a conspiracy going on, and I do think that there is a lot of evidence that supports that. But I'm just going to go with the fact that they're just idiots. And because you could talk about the Endo one, and the reason why I think a lot of fans are saying that Endo given, the technical offside for Virgil van Dijk's first header that found the net, that one should have stood because it shouldn't be a foul. And that is a different argument to what's in the rules. And yes, the rules can be wrong. And I think in this case, possibly they are, because I don't think it should have been an offside. But according to the rules, it is an offside, which is why I think that was a good decision, because according to the rules, that's a technical offside and the goal should not have stood. But the Caicedo one, man, on Gravenberch Kavanagh was fucking awful. There's no other word for it. It's not freaking awful. It's not absolutely awful. It's the F-bomb fucking awful, because he couldn't give yellow cards at the beginning of the game because he was back to the 1980s. It's like, well, I don't want to give yellow cards early because that might give me a trouble later on in the match. Like, bollocks to that, man. Just do your job. You've got the rules. Apply the rules.
It wasn't even a yellow card. It could have been a red. It was dangerous.
Oh, no, the Caicedo one was definitely red. But what I'm talking about is all the other ones that happened in the first 5 or 10 minutes that could have been also a yellow card, but he just let it all go.
The worst thing about it, Owen, is apart from the fact that we've got a player injured, but the worst thing about these refereeing decisions is consistency and lack thereof. I've often said to people are asking me, did you see the match last night? No, I said, I'll just about watch Liverpool now at this stage, because it's gone to such a stage that you can't watch football without these guys getting involved and making really, really bad decisions. That have you got? You've been needing. If I was doing that, I'd be needing a new TV every week. I'd be breaking televisions left, right, and centre. It's so inconsistent, and it's so badly inconsistent. It's sad to see. It's
and how can they improve consistency? I mean, they can have regular meetings about sort of the subjective ones. Let's say, for example, Curtis Jones' red card, very, very harsh against Tottenham, because there have been many other instances just like that haven't been given.
Rodri does that 10 times again. Worse.
Well, yes, exactly. And also in terms of consistency, yellow cards, in terms of stopping a counter-attack, if we're talking about Rodri and Manchester City, how that should automatically be a yellow card, but for some reason it's not. So you can improve consistency by having regular meetings and deciding, okay, for this one we're always going to give a yellow, for this one we're always going to give a red, and look at because the incidents are similar, very, very similar in matches, even if they're not 100% the same. It's similar enough to say, okay, this is one of those. This falls into this category or that category. But the main thing to improve consistency is just freaking apply the rules. Just apply the rules correctly. And it shouldn't be that hard, especially if you're a professional. But for some reason, these nincompoops get it wrong so obviously, so often.
They have nobody to answer to either, though. There should be some kind of an independent body who will say, right, you were really terrible last week. You're getting suspended for 2 weeks.
Exactly. And the Premier League should cancel their contract. Yeah. You're absolutely right, because the PGMO are a disgrace, and everybody says it. And Klopp, after the match, said that the referee just wasn't up to the standard, and that's good. Right. And I hope Klopp continues to not mince his words as we go into his final hurrah, the last lap, and he should just insult them every game when they deserve it. When they have a good match, we should also say they have a good match. Chris Kavanagh has had several good matches this season, but we had an absolute nightmare yesterday. Anyway, my number 3, I'm going to move on from referees for today. My number 3 in my list of things that made me happy from yesterday was Chelsea. Todd Bowley's face after the match. He was very, I don't know if cold is the word, frigid, ice cold. If you'd tapped him with a little hammer, he would have shattered into 1,000 pieces.
Maybe he got Botox.
Yes, maybe too much Botox. He got his hair cut for the occasion. The mullet was gone, and he had this Chelsea scarf on, and Pochettino blanked him at the end. I don't know if you saw that. He didn't shake his hand, which is obviously very indicative of what's going on there. But Todd Bowley, I mean, it's been his money laundering project, presumably, maybe secretly on behalf of the Russian government. We don't know. Maybe it's secretly on behalf of the American government. We don't know. But putting £1 billion and the actual from the CIES Football Observatory, the official, the very celebrated and well-known and well-respected football statistics organization, the CIES, they have the second most expensive squad this year of £978 million, over €1 billion, Nigel. And there's something very satisfying about Todd Bowley realizing that you can't just buy success, of the Chelsea fans deep down realizing that they'll never be as big as Liverpool, and looking at the faces of the really unpleasant players that play for Chelsea, such as Ben Chilwell. Apparently he was in tears. I didn't see that, but just lose, because they deserve to lose, because they're all a bunch of money-grabbing, soulless fools. So that made me happy in a Schadenfreude kind of way. How do you feel about Chelsea, Nigel? Are they the most unlikable team, apart from obviously Manchester United, in the Premier League?
No, I don't think they are. As bad as United are, I think Chelsea and City are worse, because at least United haven't done what Chelsea and City have done. And that takes a lot for me to say that. I can guarantee you that. But at least United didn't. Now I still think they probably have the most expensive squad in the league, United. But the United fans are bad. They're up there as well with the worst. But I'm not sure you saw it. There was a City fan posted a picture. I think it was Van Dijk on his knees celebrating a goal or something like that, or Nunes or somebody like that. I can't remember who it was. But the stand in the background was empty. Liverpool stand. Now he'd either taken a picture during the COVID lockdown when we were celebrating the goal.
Oh, no way. Or he photoshopped a bank of empty seats, which just doesn't happen. It just does not happen at Anfield. No, it's never happened.
Did you hear that crowd yesterday? It was incredible. Mm-hmm. They wish that they could get anywhere near that. So do City. At least United's fans will turn up. They always did.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's a great answer. I'd put Chelsea and Manchester City more unlikable than Manchester United. Yeah, in terms of there being an asterisk against everything they've won since their
Absolutely.
money
Several
laundering takeovers, then yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally. I get that. Yeah, but no, I mean, excellent answer. Thank you. What's your number 2, Nigel?
Number 2 is the squad togetherness.
Ooh.
I thought it was brilliant. Like our players up in the stand, and the fact that Hungary and Uruguay might have Olympic steeplechasers in the offing. When you
Yes.
when you see Dom and Darwin jumping over the gates and the advertising hardens to get out onto the field at the end, it was brilliant. It really was. It's all our players were there. Curtis Jones hopping down the steps, and I think Darwin nearly pushed him out of the way to get over. It was amazing. I really enjoyed the way our players on the field and off the field celebrated. Everybody together. It was great. It really was. It was an absolute, like I said earlier on, a pleasure to watch.
That's the thing with any winning team, you need the togetherness. And it's the opposite of Chelsea, isn't it? Like Chelsea is just individuals. They're in it for themselves. They're trying to save their career. They're trying to carve their own way out of the club. Some of them, it seems, because it's just an absolute mess. And, it's just playing for themselves. And like, I don't know, there's none of that. But with us, yes, there's a togetherness, such a happiness in the changing rooms after. You could see them dancing to that song One Kiss that I'm too old to appreciate or even know who did it. I think it's a bit of a rubbish song, to be honest. So yeah, I've just got to be in the minority by putting that out there. But anyway, as long as the Liverpool players enjoy it and the fans enjoy singing it, then who am I to judge? Because yeah, the togetherness and the togetherness with the fans as well. You mentioned our fans before. I mean, my God, it's not on my list, so I want to talk about the fans. I mean, from booing the national anthem to the end, I was so proud. I wish I'd been there, booing the national anthem, especially in front of Chelsea fans. And, I don't know. There was a reporter from the Liverpool Echo, and I'm sorry, I forget which one, but he said that he's been to Wembley a number of times and he's never known it to be as loud as it was yesterday, which is
there's a video on YouTube of the LA song in extra time. And it's absolutely, I had to turn my tablet down. It was that loud. It was absolutely deafening. It was incredible.
Wonderful stuff. Yeah, it's so proud, and the synergy, the togetherness between the players and the crowd is so important to our club, and it was there in the second half against Luton, and it's going to be there for the rest of the season, and we're going to need it because
you see our players on at the bottom of the steps before they went up to the top level to get the cup with some of the people down at the bottom. There were some disabled people. I hope that's the right way of saying it. But it was brilliant because they were going around there and they were meeting the players were meeting them and they were giving them high fives and shaking hands with them. It was fantastic. It was really, really good.
That's what we want.
Oh, absolutely.
Wonderful.
And all the players shaking hands going down the steps, and it was amazing to see the interactions, and whichever of our fans it was that got into Enzo Fernandez and started laughing at him about losing. He did not like that.
All that someone put that on Instagram or something. There was somebody right on as the players were walking up to get as the Chelsea players were walking up the steps to get the runners-up medals, and he said, "Unlucky lad," and he started laughing to Enzo, who then sort of turned around and squared up to this Liverpool fan, which made him laugh even harder.
Yeah, it was great.
It was kind of funny, to be honest. Enzo, he didn't look like he had much of a sense of humour about himself. But there you go. He would have learned that at Liverpool. He would have been successful at Liverpool. But there you go. Pan of Scouts is in the chat. Great to have you with us, Pan of. Hope you're well. And yes. Gary Richards talking about Chelsea says that £1 billion empty bottles of plonk. Very good, Gary. Exactly. Speaking of dud vintage wine, I don't know if anyone's seen that documentary. I can't remember what it's called. Sour Grapes, if you've ever seen that. For any fine wine lovers, there was a con artist who managed to successfully mix much cheaper bottles of wine and pass them off as the most expensive bottles of wine. Your sort of Premier Grand Cru from Bordeaux if you know about wine. And so he's absolutely destroyed the market. So now if you're going to invest in wine, you're never quite sure if it's a real vintage or if it's a fake vintage. And Bowley has just been buying fake vintage after fake vintage after fake vintage. Mudrick, for example, or shall we call him Shitrick? Or if we're going to use the Ukrainian pronunciation, it would be Moodrick, in which case we should call him Bad Mood Rick, because he never looks happy. He's wasting his career, and he's just a sprinter. He's one of those wingers like Anthony, that horrible scumbag at Manchester United, who they're just wonderful at getting corners. That's all they do. They run down the wing, they do a couple of step overs, and then they knock it against a defender and win a corner. And the crowd goes, "Way!" Until you actually take a step back and go, "Actually, is this player really effective? Is it worth spending all that money just to win corners?" No, of course it's not. Anyway, where are we? Number two. You've done your number two.
I've done my number two, yeah.
My number two was Kelleher. Specifically, we've already spoken about the great stats. Specifically, what I love about Kelleher is how much he looked like Alisson Becker with the two incredible saves. That moment in the first half when Raheem Sterling controlled a cross where he could have hit it first time, but it was a very difficult shot to take on first time. I don't mind him taking a touch there, but Conor Bradley stepped in with a wonderful tackle, but it fell to a Chelsea player, Cole Palmer, their best player, on his favourite left foot. I think it's his favourite left foot. He's certainly got a very strong left foot, and he whacked it at the goal. But the target he had to hit in those milliseconds when the ball came to him was so much smaller because of Queeve and the way that he came out and made himself really big, and the ball hit his arm, and then Endo. Oh, what a tackle. I think it was Nick Jackson maybe that he denied after that. It was an unbelievable tackle that people were barely even talking about in commentary or in other podcasts. But that moment, that triple defensive move with Queeve was insane. And also the other moment was with Conor Gallagher, one-on-one with the keeper right at the end of the match, wasn't it? The end of normal time. And Queeve came out and he looked so Alisson again. He came out, put his body in the perfect position, shut down all of the angles, and you had to find the right corner to have beaten him, but it just wasn't there. So Kelleher, and he was so cool. He's so cool even after the match.
Don't forget the third save.
And the third save, I mean, I've forgotten already. Tell me.
There was a ball coming over the far side, and I think Kanate blocked the first one with a really good slide in. And then it kind of came over at an angle, and the guy hit a shot, and he kind of palmed it away. And it was coming back in, and Joe Gomez blocked the next shot. And then one of the Chelsea guys hit the ball, and it came straight into Kelleher's arms.
Oh, so yeah, right at the end. Yes, that goal mouth scramble right at the end. Absolutely amazing. I had forgotten. There's so much about this match, but
Joe Gomez yesterday as well, when he came on, did very, very well.
Yeah. Talk to me about Gomez and Kelleher.
Well, I have to say, I think we've said it a few times on some of these pods. I think Joe Gomez should be nominated for one of our players of the year this year. He's been absolutely outstanding all season. Another guy who was written off came on yesterday after being left out very, very unluckily, and just continues to perform at an extremely high level with no recognition whatsoever, except from us.
Absolutely. Sorry, I was zoning out there because I was just had some breaking news from Doug in the comments. Everton have had their points deduction reduced from 10 to 6 points on appeal. So okay, fair enough. So that now they move up to 25 points in the league, which brings them up to 15th. So
and they're taking that other 10 points off them.
Well, yeah, they might take another 10 points in the next round of allegations against them. But okay, that's good news for the Blue Brethren. And I'm in two minds about whether I want them relegated or not. Because I really enjoy the Merseyside derby. Nigel's putting his thumbs down. He wants them to go down. And I understand. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why that would be really funny. And but that's another reason why they should stay up, is because they've given us so much comedy that I would miss them. It's like, some kind of annoying neighbor who just keeps, doing a sideshow bob and standing on a rake, and you could just watch them go around and around whacking themselves in the face. It's fun to be Everton's rival, and I want that to continue. Anyway, brings us towards our number one. So number one, if you've just joined us, like Philip has in the chat, Philip Bidwell, welcome. He says, we beat the £1 billion flops of Chelsea. Yes, we did. Floppy as Prince Philip's old ding dong, but we won't go there.
Talking about Camilla like that.
What's that?
Talking about Camilla like that.
Very good. Nigel, you're number one of the things that made you happy about yesterday.
Little headline: brick wall runners.
Brick wall runners.
Brick wall runners.
Was that
our lads? And I'm pointing my finger squarely at Wataru Endo in this context. Lads who will go through everything to do what's right for the team, running through brick walls for the manager, running through for your teammates, for everybody else. And it's incredible to watch. And they all did that yesterday. Every single one of them. There's a couple of the guys on the sideline did it as well. Just, it really is a joy to behold. And Chelsea just didn't have that kind of character, shall we say, in their team. There just wasn't. And we had an abundance of them. A plethora, so to speak, of brick wall runners. That's exactly what we had yesterday. We fully deserved to win that game yesterday because of our attitude. And there was only one team out there who didn't want to go to penalties.
That's right, and that's a great answer. And it's the attitude. As I was saying earlier, I reckon it's they work on that in the academy. They must do, because these kids coming through. I mean, it wasn't just the kids; it was every single person, the subs and everybody who started. Harvey Elliott also epitomised that.
Wonderful,
running right to the end.
Wonderful, he was absolutely wonderful.
And
fantastic.
The guy who's behind you on your, for the audio listeners, you won't know, but Nigel's sitting in front of a marvelous virtual background of Lucho Diaz. The way that he couldn't even run at the end, they had to put him in the center of the pitch because he literally could not run anymore, but he was still taking touches, keeping the ball, bringing other players into the team, creating space for the likes of
that game yesterday. He was man of the match.
Well, there were loads of people would say that Lucho was...
For a lot of the game, he was our outball. He was our legs. He was absolutely outstanding as well.
Absolutely. I mean, while we're on the subject of Lucho, let's give you some key figures from the game. So he had 5 shots, which was the most of anyone in the entire match. He had 4 key passes as well. So he was the most creative player and the guy taking the most shots. An incredible 88.7% passing accuracy, which, as we mentioned before in Kop On, sometimes means that he's playing it safe, whereas really he could take a few more risks. But in the context of a cup final, keeping the ball as well as having 5 shots and 4 key passes means that you're choosing your moments well, basically. And he's choosing to keep the ball, to recycle the ball under all sorts of pressure from Malo Gusto, who's arguably Chelsea's best player, along with Cole Palmer, because he's a very, very good right back. But no, I love that answer, Nigel. But it brings me to my number one, which is the kids, because I want to talk about Malo Gusto just for a moment, because I read some comments on YouTube, various YouTube channels that I've consumed this morning, and they're the odd Chelsea fan coming in and chiming in with the concept that Chelsea had a younger starting 11 average than Liverpool, and they're not getting any credit for their kids. And
they didn't win.
Well, yes, there's that, which is slightly key, but it's also complete bullshit if you look at a little bit deeper. We're not having the sort of the Danny Murphy superficial analysis that you get on Match of the Day, Jermaine Genius, etc. We're not like that on Kop On. We go a little bit deeper. So I worked out on the bus home after dropping my baby off at the nanny. I looked at the stats in all competitions this season. Okay, and check this out. I'm going to post this on Twitter when I get a moment. So, of the players on the pitch who were 20 years older or younger, Chelsea only had 2 in the entire 120 minutes. They had Malo Gusto and Levi Colwill, who incidentally celebrates his 21st birthday today. So happy birthday, Levi Colwill. I hope you're having a lovely day. You could be in red, but you're staying in blue and you're feeling blue on your 21st birthday. But he was 20 years old yesterday, so we'll count him as a 20-year-old. Levi Colwill and Malo Gusto. Between them this season, they've played 4,046 minutes. Okay? Roughly 4,000 minutes between them together, combined. Malo Gusto and Levi Colwill, 4,046 minutes. Liverpool, on the other hand, our players who are 20 years or younger, yesterday, we had, in ascending order of age, Jayden Danns, Bobby Clark, James McConnell, Connor Bradley, Harvey Elliott, and Jarell Kwanzaa.
That's Gravenberch, 21.
Yes, no, but I'm talking 20 or under.
20 or under, okay.
And of that, our combined minutes, actually, if you take out Elliott, I took out Elliott for no reason. Sorry, he's only 20. Between Danns, Clark, McConnell, Bradley and Kwanzaa, they've only amassed 1,048 minutes between them in their careers. So
Jarell Kwanzaa was on loan to Bristol Rovers last season.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not talking their careers. I mean this season. In all competitions. I'm sorry, terrible. I'm terrible at delivering this stat. It took me ages to figure out. So 1,048 minutes between 5 players, or 4,046 minutes between 2 players. And these are the youngsters, the real youngsters. You could talk about Gravenberch, who's 21, exactly. You can talk about Cole Palmer, who's also 21, I believe. So, yeah, basically, there's 3,000 minutes difference. Chelsea far more experienced. But the kids is my number one thing of just what made me happy, because I wasn't that surprised, Nigel. I don't know if you remember in the group chat before the game, I was confident when the teams came out, and I predicted a Jayden Danns winner in extra time because I thought that I believed in these kids. And a lot of the Chelsea players, Stephen Warnock made a very good point, a lot of the Chelsea players won't even know who they are when they're coming off the pitch. Conor Gallagher was visibly befuddled looking at Bobby Clark going, who the hell are you chasing me down just after coming on the pitch? But Bobby Clark, they were absolutely brilliant, Nigel. Absolutely insane.
The other thing about our kids and their kids younger than us or whatever, they tried to play for penalties. We said it before.
Mm-hmm.
Our guys went out there and put their mind to going out there and, right, let's get a winner. Let's go out there and score. Mm-hmm. That's the mentalities were so different. Now, I'm sure it comes from the coaches, but they had no one there, young, old, whatever, whoever it was, willing to grab the game by the scruff of the neck, and we did. We had 11 guys on the pitch at all times willing to go out there and take that ball, take that game by the scruff of the neck and try and win it. They had a few moments, but for the most part, particularly in extra time, there was only one team out there trying to win. And that's why our young lads are getting a lot more plaudits, shall we say.
They should. They really should. I mean, of those players, right? I mean, the ones that, I mean, obviously Harvey Elliott, we hope that he has a long and illustrious career with Liverpool. But the real beginners here, you can include Kwanzaa in that. Kwanzaa, Bobby Clark, James McConnell, Jayden Danns, for example. Of those 4, I fully expect all of them to still be at the club in 4 or 5 years, which is very unusual if you look at. And then
there's the other 2 on the bench.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the other 2, Lewis Kumas and
Trey Leone, who's 16.
Trey Maurice Leone, and I think more people should use his full name because that's absolutely epic. Trey Maurice Leone. Yes, absolutely. Hopefully. But do you agree with me that Danns, McConnell, Clark, and Kwanzaa will still be at the club in 4 or 5 years?
Oh, I can't see why not. I really can't see why not. They're just, stay around the squad, build up. And in 5 years' time, could be talking, 24-year-old Bobby Clark mainstay of the Liverpool midfield with 29-year-old Trent Alexander-Arnold.
I mean, it would be beautiful. I was very impressed with Bobby Clark's, like we mentioned, mentality, definitely number one, but also his technical skill in small spaces yesterday.
Yeah, very much so. But his dad was a good player as well, you know what I mean? These guys, I remember watching, like, Neil Dans and people, and Jason Kumas and people like that, who are good players. We've got another guy there as well called Keiral Figueroa, and his dad was Meno Figueroa. And Keiral Figueroa is a USA youth international. He's there as well.
Did his dad play for Wigan?
Yes.
Excellent.
Meno Figueroa, yes, he did.
Yeah, okay, great.
And I think everybody knows I'll enjoy watching the kids when I can, watching our younger teams. And I try to keep an eye on players who I think might be able to come through. And we haven't had that many coming through, but we've got some good ones now at the moment. We could see these guys coming up for the last couple of years. But then now Jaden Dance has put on height and bulk, and he looks, 19 years old, and he looks ready. So, keep him around the squad. Get these lads integrated but they're already integrated into the mentality. You know what I mean? It's just, it can only bode well. Like Jurgen said, if he didn't think that there was something special in the future, he wouldn't be leaving. So he knows what he's doing. He's leaving the club in a very, very fit state, unlike other clubs when managers, great or otherwise, have left. The club has not been in a very fit, stable playing state, but we are.
It still depends on the style of manager who comes in. I mean, if, for example, we were to employ David Moyes, I'm pretty sure he will ruin the good work pretty much immediately, as he did at United. So, we have to be very careful not to employ a negative manager. We need somebody with positivity. Ruben Amorim. My head's going with Amorim. My heart is with Alonso. Yeah. But we're not going to talk about that for now. I want to stick to this match and these kids especially. James McConnell, right? As you said, 47 touches of the ball when he came on in the 86th minute as a substitute, including in those 47 touches of the ball were 3 key passes, which is was it the most? It's absolutely amazing. It's the equal most of any midfielder we had on the pitch, including equal with Alexis McAllister, who also had 3 key passes. And when you consider that he only played for half an hour, 87.2% passing accuracy, I think he was incredible, James McConnell, because it's hard to find players who can find space, and it's hard to find players who know what to do in terms of making the right decisions. I mean, I'm very excited about Bobby Clark. I'm very, very excited about Jaden Dance. Obviously, over the moon with Connor Bradley. But apart from Connor Bradley, I think second on my list of players who I think are definitely got a big future, James McConnell's up there for me. What do you think of McConnell?
A lot of money in the it could save us a lot of money in the transfer market. All these kids could, but yeah. Could you imagine, these guys coming along all the time, just building, they're young lads. 4 or 5 years' time, they're still pretty young. It's like Harvey Elliott, his 101st game for us yesterday. And I have to say, one of his better games. I thought he was absolutely fabulous yesterday. I've had my doubts about him, about his pace and his positioning and stuff like that sometimes. But yesterday, there was no doubt he was magnificent. So just look at his example, these kids, and follow that. I think is the way to go. It's just listen to the manager, listen to the coaches, listen to your teammates, soak everything in, and just be as good as you can.
Totally. I mean, Harvey Elliott, he had 6 attempted long balls, 5 of them were accurate. He was switching play a lot, and he was playing lots of long vertical passes when it was necessary with the ball at his feet. He's a magician. He's really brilliant for the team. So 56 passes, 82.1% passing accuracy, but also playing in 2 different positions, starting the game in Mo Salah's position, and after Gravenberch's injury, moving into midfield. It was sensational, and still running, chasing down, harrying, not giving them anything. even deep into extra time. Wonderful, wonderful. Nigel, do you want to talk about Nottingham Forest, which is in 2 days? Ridiculously.
Southampton?
Is it Southampton? Sorry.
Southampton.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, Southampton. Of course. Yeah. So Southampton. I mean, I'm sort of. My baby now is 9 months old. He's about to be 10 months old. I'm sort of half expecting a call from Jurgen, seeing if he can play in number 6 for the Southampton game, the next match. But I don't know. I mean, do you really care about the FA Cup at this stage? I mean, I would play the kids or the kids. I'd play the under-12s. I don't know. Who are you going to play? Is that Anfield against Southampton? 9 o'clock.
I won't care until Wednesday night.
Okay.
That's just you'd be saying to people, I don't care about the FA Cup. Yeah, well, anybody that's got any kind of a love for Liverpool doesn't want to lose any game. Under 12, under 5, under 6 doesn't want to lose. Simple as that.
Well, I don't want to lose, but I don't particularly mind.
I know. But
in the context,
it's what's in here doesn't want the club to lose. If you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's just, but I might not be a bad thing, but do we really want to go out to Southampton at home? I don't know.
Well,
I just hope, well, he'll play. He'll have to play the kids. He hasn't got a choice, but these guys are good enough.
I really think they are. Perhaps Trey Neone, a first start.
Maybe.
Trey Maurice Neone. Liverpool have won each of their last 4 FA Cup meetings with Southampton, according to Google. Most recently, a 3-0 fifth round victory at Anfield in 1989-90. So it's the same round the last time we played them in 89-90, a season in which we won the league. We still got all that to look forward to, Nigel, but for now I want to thank you very much for joining me today. It's been really good fun to talk about this top really 5 thing. Just go through a couple of comments. Doug from the Dugout Football Channel has rolled out this one, which is a lovely one. You can replace it. I've seen it a few times, but I love it. The earth is covered with 70% water and the rest is covered by Wataru Endo. I love it. Very good. They used to say the same thing about N'Golo Kante, and maybe Endo is his replacement. Yes, in the world stage.
Chelsea missed him yesterday.
Pardon?
Chelsea missed Kante yesterday, big time. No one like him.
I mean, he's another genius player. They'll never replace him. Maybe in 27 years.
Incredible player.
Oh, if only he'd signed for Liverpool. I used to teach English to his old agent.
Oh, really?
Yeah. N'Golo Kante.
He was a super player. I thought he was a fabulous player.
Yeah, and his ex-agent, who was his agent in the lower leagues, he played for a town called Caen, Caen, which is a town in Normandy in France. And so this guy was his agent when he transferred from Caen to Leicester, and he said something interesting to me. He said, by the time he went to Chelsea, he said, in terms of being his agent, there were lots of third parties involved in his transfer to Chelsea, as opposed to, for example, PSG.
Well, what a shock, huh? Chelsea involved in dodgy dealings.
Well, I didn't say dodgy dealings,
I did.
Lawyers. That was Nigel. If you're going to sue anyone, sue Nigel. No, I'm only joking. Yes. But anyway, more of the comments. Lucho ran his legs off, says Gary. Gary says Lucho ran his legs off. Yes, he did. And he can't possibly start against Southampton. Gary is also feeling very saucy. And he says the title win will be special. Love the confidence there, Gary. Pan of Scouse says Harvey is so passionate and has a great work rate. Absolutely. He's one of us out there on the pitch. Love his passion. Love that moment with him and Kenny Dalglish. If you haven't seen it, in the tunnel yesterday, I'm sure the clip of it will be on Google. They're just having a great laugh together. Harvey, isn't he just, sort of like you just wish he was like your cousin or something, because he's just a great guy. Credit to the team. Pan of Scouse also says he wants the quad. He cares about losing to Southampton. That's in response to me saying I don't really care if we lose to Southampton. Yes, I flip-flop, to be honest, because I don't want to be greedy. And I sort of go, like this morning, I was thinking, worst case scenario from here on in is that we go out of the FA Cup, we don't win the Europa, and we don't win the league. Worst case scenario. We're Liverpool. We should be going for the league, and we should be unhappy if we don't get the league every year. Yes, and part of me is like that every year. But then there's another part which is like, don't be greedy. Like if you put it into context of any other like sport that you want to do, or any other journey that you go on as a fan of something, anything, the journey we've been on already this season, and to have that incredible final, to win that in an unforgettable way, perhaps we could square the fact, if we don't win anything else this season, with the fact that we've had an absolutely remarkable and wonderful story this season, no matter what happens from here on in. So I think the pressure's off. I want the quad, but we've already had a fairy tale this year. So I don't want to get greedy and sort of insist on it. And if we lose, for example, against Southampton, then it's like somehow disappointing. It's not disappointing. It's been incredible, and there are plenty of excuses as to why we would lose against Southampton, given the context. But anyway, Panov says, nice one, fellas. Have a good day. Thank you, Panov. You too. Gary says, Starwin starts on Wednesday. Well, if he does, then Southampton have no chance. Philip Bidwell says, we play the kids on Wednesday and we'll still win. I'm that confident. Well, yeah, Philip, I'm glad. I'm glad you're that confident, and you may well be right. Gary Richards says, great stream, dear boy. Well, Gary, thank you. It's been emotional. It's been a lot of fun. Special thanks to you, Nigel, for being a guest. It's been brilliant. Is there anything we've missed? Anything you'd like to mention that we haven't mentioned?
Just the way I'd look at things now is one game at a time. Keep winning. Go back to the old Oakland Raiders motto all down the years. I was up on their walls. Just win, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you to everybody. It's been, without wishing to sound like, what do they say on EasyJet? It's been an absolute pleasure having you with us. But that was the robot saying that, and I actually mean it. It has been thunderously wonderful to have you with us, you deliciously scrumptious crumpets. And we will see you next time on Kop On. Thank you so much, and ta-ra. Thank you.